Good morning, dear students. Let's start with a new unit, chemical bonding and molecular structure. Dear students, we know that there are 118 different kind of elements which constitute all matter. It's a well-known fact that except for noble gases, no other element exists as independent atom under ordinary conditions. Most of the atoms exist as molecules. The molecules are the aggregate of atoms or ions of same or different elements, having an independent existence and its own characteristic properties. When atoms join to form molecule, there must be some force which holds these constituent atoms together in the molecule. This attractive force which holds the constituent particles together in a chemical species is called a chemical bond. Now, important question that should arise in our mind is, why do atoms combine? Why do certain atoms combine whereas others do not? What is the nature of force which holds the atom together in the molecules? Why do atoms have fixed combining capacity? Why do molecules possess definite shapes? To answer these questions, different theories and concepts were put forward from time to time. They were the Kozal-Lewis approach, the valence shell electron pair repulsion theory, the valence bond theory, and the molecular orbital theory. We'll be studying about these different theories in this unit. One important thing you need to remember is that every system in this universe wants to attain a state of stability, and bonding is a way of lowering the energy of the system to attain stability. Let's now discuss the Kozal-Lewis approach to chemical bonding. In 1916, Kozal and Lewis, they were the first to provide logical explanation of valence, which was based on the inertness of noble gases. Let's see how Lewis pictured the atom. Lewis said that atom can be represented as a kernel and the outer shell that accommodate maximum of 8 electrons. Now this kernel is the nucleus plus the inner electrons. So according to Lewis, the atom is the nucleus plus the inner electron, that is kernel, and in the outer shell has the electrons, and the maximum electrons can be 8. He further suggested that the electrons, they occupy the corners of a cube which surround the kernel. Now let's see sodium. As sodium has one valence electron, so it occupies only one corner of the cube, whereas noble gases, it occupies all the corners of the cube. So he postulated that atoms achieve the stable octet when they are linked by chemical bonds. Now, the chemical bond can be an ionic bond or it can be a covalent bond. If it is an ionic bond, then it is formed by the transfer of electron, and if it is a covalent bond, it is formed by sharing of electrons. The purpose of transfer of electron or sharing of electron is the same, that is, the atom wants to attain the stable outer octet of electrons. Let's see the example of sodium chloride. Sodium, we know that has one valence electron, so it prefers to give one electron to chlorine. As a result of this, sodium loses the electron and become the cation, and chlorine accepts the electron and becomes the anion. By doing so, both have attained a stable octet. They have become like their nearest noble gases. Similarly, the molecules like chlorine, hydrogen and fluorine, the atoms join by sharing the electron, and purpose is that every atom attains a octet. Now Lewis, he was an American scientist, and in order to represent the valence electron, he gave certain notation which are known as Lewis symbols. For example, let us see the elements of the second period. So lithium. Lithium we know has one valence electron, so it is that one valence electron is represented by one dot. Beryllium has two valence electrons, so it is represented by two dots. Boron has three valence electrons, so represented by three dots. Carbon has four valence electrons, so represented by four dots. Nitrogen has five valence electrons, so five dots are there. Oxygen has six valence electrons, so six dots are there. Fluorine has seven valence electrons, so seven dots are there, and neon has eight valence electron. Now, what is the significance of this Lewis symbol? This number of dots, what they represent is the number of valence electrons. Okay, so this number of valence electron help us to calculate the group valence of the element. So let me explain this. We have already done in the previous chapter. So what is valence? Valence is the most characteristic property of the element, and it can be understood in terms of electronic configuration. The valence of representative elements is usually equal to the number of electrons in the outermost orbital, or equal to 8 minus the number of outermost electrons. Let's see this table. For group 1, the number of valence electrons are 1 and the valence is 1. Let's see the example here of the lithium, the member of group 1, that is lithium. Lithium is having atomic number 3. The electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s1, and so as it has one valence electron, so we represent like this, lithium with one dot, that is it is having one valence electron. Now let's see group 2. Group 2 has two valence electron, so the group valence is 2. Now let's see the example of group 2, that is beryllium. The atomic number of beryllium is 4. The electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, and it has two valence electrons, so we have represented two dots here. Now let us see now group 13. Group 13 is having number of valence electrons are 3 and the group valence is 3. For group 14, the number of valence electrons are 4 and the group valence is 4. For group 15, the number of valence electrons are 5 and the group valence is 3 or 5. For group 16, the number of valence electrons are 6 and the group valence is 2 or 6. For group 17, the number of valence electrons are 7 and the group valence is 1 or 7. And for group 18, the number of valence electrons are 8 and the group valence is 0 or 8. Right? So this we have already done in the previous chapter. Okay. Now next we want to do that what was the causal in relation to chemical bonding drew attention to the following facts. Let us see the facts. First is in the periodic table, the highly electronegative halogen and the highly electropositive alkali metals are separated by noble gases. Then the second was the formation of a negative ion from a halogen atom and the positive ion from alkali metal is associated with gain and loss of an electron by the respective atoms. We know that if I take the example of alkali metal, that is sodium, sodium lose one electron and form cation, and chlorine gains one electron and forms anion. The purpose of doing is that they want to become like their nearest noble gas, that is they want to obtain the octet. So the negative and the positive ion thus formed attain the noble gas configuration. The noble gases, with the exception of helium, which has a duplet of electrons, helium we know has duplet, have a particularly stable outer shell configuration of 8. Right? So the negative and the positive ions, they are stabilized by electrostatic attractions. When sodium ion and chloride ion are formed, then the opposite charges, they attract each other, and as a result a chemical bond is formed. Let us see again the formation of sodium chloride from sodium and chlorine. Sodium is losing one electron. By doing so, it is attaining the nearest noble gas configuration of neon. Chlorine gains that electron and becomes chloride ion, and here the configuration of neon is this chlorine is neon 3s2 3p5. After gaining the electron, it becomes like its nearest noble gas, that is argon. Now the opposite charges, sodium ion and chloride ion, they attract each other. As a result of this, sodium chloride is formed. Now as this formation of sodium chloride involves ion, so this bond is also known as an ionic bond or an electrovalent bond. Similarly, let's see the formation of calcium fluoride. Calcium gives 2 electron. Okay, the configuration of calcium is argon 4s2, so it prefers to lose 2 electron to become like its nearest noble gas, and fluorine takes this electron to become fluoride ion. So as it is giving 2 electrons, so 2 fluoride ions, they take these electrons, and as a result of this, calcium fluoride is formed. Thus the bond which is formed as a result of electrostatic attractions between the positive and the negative ion is termed as what? The electrovalent bond. Okay, so the electrovalent bond is equal to the number of, the electrovalence is thus equal to the number of unit charges on the ion. Calcium has a positive, is assigned a positive electrovalence of 2, while chlorine is having a negative electrovalence of 1. Okay, then the octet rule. Let us see what is octet rule. Kozel and Lewis, they in 1916, they developed an important theory of chemical combination between atoms, and that theory is known as electronic theory of chemical bonding. What does this theory say? According to this theory, atom can combine either by transfer of valence electrons or from one atom to the another, or by sharing of valence electrons, and the purpose is to attain an octet. This is also known as octet rule. So generally this question is asked, what is octet rule or what is electronic theory of chemical bonding? So what is that? That atoms combine either by transfer of electrons from one atom to another or by sharing of valence electrons, and the purpose is they want to attain the octet. That is, they want to become like their nearest noble gas. They want to have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. Let's do a question. Write Lewis-Dot symbol for the following atom and ions. So oxygen. Let's see about oxygen. Oxygen is having atomic number 8. So its configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. And I have written, these are the valence electron. So I have written 6 valence electron, 2, 4, 5 and 6. So this is the way we are to represent the Lewis-Dot. We have to write the Lewis-Dot notation for oxygen. Then the next is O2 negative. How to write for O2 negative? Now this oxygen has gained 2 more electrons. So we'll write add 2 more electrons to here, and this will be O2 negative. Then we have to write the Lewis-Dot symbol for magnesium ions. Now let us see, magnesium we know is having atomic number 12 and it has configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2. This is the configuration of neon, so I have written like this, 3s2. Now it has lost these 2 electrons. So see, it has lost these 2 electrons. Now it is having the electronic configuration, that is, it is having 8 valence electrons. Why it lost 2 electrons? Because it wanted to become stable like its nearest noble gas neon. Now it is having 8 electrons in the valence shell, the outermost shell, 2, 4, 6 and 8, and I'll represent like this. Now let us see for P3 negative. Now phosphorus is having atomic number 15 and I can write neon 3s2, 3p3, 10 to 12, 13, 15. Now P3 negative. So P3 negative, first I'll write about phosphorus. So phosphorus can be written like this. Phosphorus is having how many electrons? 5 valence electrons. So I'll write 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now it has gained 3 more electrons. So I'll write here 2 and 1, 3. Now I can write it like 3 negative, right? So this is how the P3 negative ion is formed. It is formed by the, now in this way phosphorus has attained the nearest noble gas configuration. Covalent bond. It is the bond which is formed by the mutual sharing of electrons between the combining atoms of the same or different elements. Let us take the example of chlorine molecule. Two chlorine atoms, they combine with each other to form a molecule of chlorine. In this case, both the atoms have 7 electrons in the outermost shell and have 1 electron less than the argon configuration. Therefore, they contribute 1 electron each to form a shared pair between two atoms. In this process, both chlorine atoms, they attain the stable electronic configuration of noble gas. This results in the formation of a covalent bond in chlorine molecule. Then we'll discuss the formation of water. Now, in the formation of water, oxygen has 6 valence electron and hydrogen has 1 electron. So, they share their electron, and in this process of sharing, oxygen has attained an octet and hydrogen has attained a duplet. They both have become stable. They both have achieved their nearest noble gas configuration. Now let us discuss the formation of carbon tetrachloride. In this, carbon has 4 electrons in the valence shell and it shares with 4 chlorine atoms to form the carbon tetrachloride. In the process, carbon and chlorine has both attained 8 electrons in their outermost shell and thus have attained the octet and in turn have become stable. Now we'll discuss that about the Lewis structure for molecules having multiple covalent bonds. If two atoms share one electron pair, bond is known as a single covalent bond. If two atoms share 2 electron pair, bond is known as a double covalent bond. If two atoms share 3 electron pairs, bond is known as a triple covalent bond. Let's take the example of carbon dioxide. In the formation of carbon dioxide molecule, carbon has 4 valence electrons and oxygen has 6 valence electrons. To complete the octet, carbon shares 2 of its valence electron with 1 oxygen and 2 with the other oxygen. As a result of this, there are 2 double bonds formed in the carbon dioxide molecule. Then we come to the formation of ethylene molecule. In the formation of ethylene molecule, each carbon atom shares 2 of its valence electron with 2 hydrogen atoms and the remaining 2 electrons with the second carbon atom. So there is a double bond formed between the carbon atoms. You can see here hydrogen has attained duplet and each carbon has attained an octet. Right? We can see here. As a result of this, the double bond is formed here. Now we come to the examples of triple bond. So we take the example of nitrogen molecule. In the formation of a nitrogen molecule, each of the 2 nitrogen atoms have 5 valence electrons. So they provide 3 electrons to form 3 electron pairs for sharing. Thus, a triple bond is formed between the 2 nitrogen atoms. Then we talk of the acetylene molecule. In acetylene molecule, each carbon atom shares 3 of its valence electron with other carbon atom and as a result of this, a triple bond is formed. Let's now learn how to write the Lewis structure of simple molecules. First, we will calculate the total number of electrons which are required for writing the structure by adding the valence electrons of the combining atom. For example, in methane molecule, there are 8 valence electrons, 4 from carbon and 4 from hydrogen. Then for anions, each negative charge means adding an electron to the valence electron and cation means subtracting the electron from the valence electrons. Then knowing the chemical symbols of the combining atoms and guessing the skeletal structure of the compound, we have to distribute the total number of electrons as bonding shared pair between the atoms in proportion to the total bonds. Then we have to keep in mind that the least electronegative atom should occupy the central position in the molecule, and after distributing the shared pair of electron for single bond, the remaining electron pairs, they are used for multiple bond, or they can constitute the lone pairs. Now let us take certain examples to understand these rules. For example, we take the carbon monoxide. First, what we will do, now carbon is having 4 electron and oxygen is having 6 electrons, so the total valence electrons are 10. This is, we have first calculated the total valence electrons. Then we will write the skeletal structure, carbon, oxygen. Then first we'll join the two atoms by one bond, that is, will give 2 electrons here, and then we will try to complete the octet. So we find here that oxygen octet is complete 2, 4, 6, 8, but we are not able to complete the octet of carbon, so we cannot take the structure. Then we have to think of some other structure. Now here what happens, there are, out of these 10 valence electrons, first we will give 2 electrons, and then in order to complete the octet, we'll add more of the electrons, that is a triple bond will be formed, and as a result now we find that every atom has the octet complete. So the basic requirement in these Lewis structure is that each bonded atom should have an octet of electron. Now you see, carbon is having an octet of electron and oxygen is also having an octet of electron. Let us now see for formic acid. Now first we will calculate the total number of valence electron. So we have one carbon, which is 4 valence electron. There are 2 hydrogen, 2 valence electron, 2 oxygen. Each oxygen is having 6 valence electrons, so there are 12 valence electron. The total is 18 electron. Now we have to arrange 18 electron. Our first step is that we will join the atoms by one electron pair. So first we will join this, and then we will try to complete the octet of every atom. See, we have right now 18 electrons, so 2, 4, 6 have been used. Now if we write here 2, 4, 6, 8, so its octet is complete, and hydrogen duplet is complete. Now let us see carbon. So 2, 4, 6. So we'll have a double bond here. So then it will its octet will be complete, and in this way we write the structure of formic acid like this. So what we have to keep in mind, it's very simple thing. The basic thing we have to keep in mind is that the octet of the atom should be complete. This is the first thing we need to know, and first step is to calculate the number of valence electrons. If it is anion, we will add 1 electron. If it is a cation, we will subtract 1 electron. And then what is the next step is, we will intelligently guess the structure of the atom, and then we will give 1 electron first to all. 1 electron pair will be given to all, between all the atoms. Then we will try to complete the octet of electron, keeping in mind that every atom should have a complete octet. Let's now discuss the rules for writing the Lewis structure. The first rule is to calculate the total number of electrons which are required for writing the structure by adding the valence electrons of the combining atom. For example, I take carbon monoxide. The atoms are carbon and oxygen. So the total number of valence electrons are 10, 4 for carbon and 6 for oxygen. Now second step, for example, if anions are involved, then negative charge means addition of electron to the valence electron, and for cations the positive charge means subtraction of electron from the valence electron. Then the third step is we will guess the skeletal structure of the compound. So this guessing the skeletal structure is either on the basis of our knowledge or it should be an intelligent guess. Then we will distribute the total number of electrons as bonding shared pair between the atoms. Then the fourth step we need to follow is if the least electronegative atom should occupy the central position in the molecule, and hydrogen and fluorine should occupy the terminal positions. Okay, so these rules we have to follow. And the last thing we need to follow is that after we have distributed the electrons for single bonds, the remaining electron are used for multiple bonds, or they constitute the lone pair. The basic requirement is that each bonded atom should get an octet of electrons. See, while writing the Lewis structure, these are the various steps which you need to keep in mind. The first is you have to calculate the total number of valence electrons. Then if suppose it is an anion, that we have to add 1 electron. If it is a cation, then we have to subtract 1 electron. Then we have to intelligently guess the skeletal structure, and then after guessing the skeletal structure, we will distribute the electrons. First we will provide one pair of electron between all the atoms, okay, and then if there are more electron pairs, then they can be used as multiple bonds, or they constitute what? The lone pairs. And the aim is of doing all this is that each atom should have an octet of electrons. Lewis formula for carbon monoxide. Say the step number 1 is we count the valence electrons. Carbon 4, oxygen 6. So we have 10 valence electron. Then we will write the skeletal structure of carbon monoxide. We can easily write it is carbon and oxygen. Okay. Then in step number 3, we will first we are to distribute all these 10 valence electrons. So first we will give the 2 electrons in between the 2 atoms. Okay, so that there is one bond between them. Then we will distribute the remaining. We find that we have given 6 electrons to oxygen, and in doing so oxygen has completed its octet, but the carbon is not able to complete its octet. So this is not the preferred structure for carbon monoxide. So what we have to do next is, the next thing is that there should be what? A triple bond. So there must be a triple bond between the carbon and the oxygen atom. Let us see. We will write like this: 3 oxygen, and now we find that carbon is also having an octet of electron and oxygen is also having an octet of electron. So this satisfied the octet rule condition for both the atoms. So this is the exact Lewis structure for carbon monoxide. We can write like this. This is, I hope this is clear to everyone. Now I take the second example of formic acid. Okay, so we will calculate first the number of valence electrons. So we know that carbon is having 4 valence electron. Hydrogens, there are 2 hydrogen, and each hydrogen is having 1 valence electron. There are 2 oxygen atom. Each oxygen atom is having 6 valence electron. So the total number of valence electrons are 18. I hope this is clear to everyone. Now the second thing is, then we have to intelligently guess the structure. Now in this case we need to guess the structure. Okay, this can be through our knowledge, or we have to make some intelligent guess. So we will write like this O, H, and one O we can write here. Now we have to distribute these 18 electrons in between this. The first is one bond is mandatory between all the atoms, so we will put those electrons first. We can write like this. Okay, so see, by doing so hydrogen has attained its duplet. Now we see that how to adjust the 18 electrons. The aim should be that the octet must be satisfied. The basic requirement is that each bonded atom should get an octet of electrons. Now we have 18 electrons. We have already used 2, 4, 6 and 8 electrons have been used. Now we are to adjust the remaining 10 electrons. Okay, so first let us try to complete the octet of oxygen. It is 2, 4, 6, 8. Now this is 2, 4, 6, and we can put 2 here. So carbon octet is also completed. 2, 4, 6, 8. Now let us see 2, 4, and we can write here 6 and 8. Now let us see the total number of electrons. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 and 18. So all the 18 electrons have been distributed in this formic acid. And see what is the structure now. It is H, C, double bond O, O and H. And I can write here the valence electrons like this. Okay, so this is for formic acid. I hope now you all have learned how to write the Lewis structure for these neutral molecules. Now let us do one more for nitritine. See this, because it is important to learn to write the Lewis structure, because then only you can calculate the formal charges. So let us see the third example. It is nitritine. Okay, our first step is to count the number of valence electrons. So nitrogen is having how many valence electrons? 5. Oxygen is having 6, 2 into 6, and I told you if it is an anion, you need to add 1 electron. So the total number of electron will be 18. 12 plus 5, 17 plus 1, 18 electrons. Okay, so the step number 2, the skeletal structure of nitritine. So what we have learned is one rule I have told you, that the least electronegative atom should occupy the central position. So let us see which is the least electronegative atom. So nitrogen is the least electronegative atom. So that should occupy the central position. So we have written like this. I hope this is clear. Again we have used the step that least electronegative atom should occupy the central position. Now 2 mandatory bond electrons we have to give. At least one bond has to be there between the atoms. So we have drawn the single bond between nitrogen and oxygen. Now let us distribute the remaining. Our aim is that each bonded atom should have an octet of electrons. Okay, so let us start distributing this. First let us try to complete for oxygen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now this oxygen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we have to write 2 more here. Now let us see for nitrogen. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8. So see, now octet of all element is completed. All the atoms have a complete octet. 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6 and 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. There are 18 electrons. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 and 18. So there are 18 electrons, and we will put like this. Okay, so I can write the structure as nitrogen, double bond, oxygen or oxygen, and I can put the remaining electrons here, and remaining electrons I can write like this, and you can see here this is my nitrite ion, right? Okay, now I can also write this like I can write like this. Okay, so this also is what I can do. I have to write like this. Okay, and 2, 4 and 6. So I can write in 2 ways the structure of nitrite ion. So in this way you need to practice more these structures. Okay, then it will come to you as assignment. Let's now discuss about formal charge. In case of polyatomic ions, the net charge is possessed by the ion as a whole and not by a particular atom. It is possible to assign a formal charge on each atom. The formal charge of an atom in a polyatomic ion or molecule is defined as the difference between the number of valence electrons in an isolated atom and the number of electrons assigned to that atom in a Lewis structure. It can be expressed as formal charge is equal to valence electrons, total number of valence electrons in the free atom minus total number of non-bonding electrons or the lone pairs minus half of total number of bonding electrons, that is the shared electrons, where V is the total number of valence electrons in the free atom, L is the total number of electrons which are present as lone pairs, and S is the total number of shared electrons. Okay, let's now learn how to calculate the formal charge. For example, in order to calculate the formal charge, first you should know how to write the Lewis structure for that particular molecule. Now, for ozone, now we have already learned how to write the Lewis structure. In that, what you need to remember is, first you have to calculate the total number of valence electron, then you have to give one pair of electron between each atom so that there is one bond is formed between every atom, and then you have to arrange the remaining, keeping in mind that every atom should complete its octet. So this is how you are to write the valence, the Lewis structure. You can see here this oxygen is having 8 electron, 2, 4, 6, 8. This oxygen is having 8 electron, 2, 4, 6, 8. This oxygen is having 8 electron, 2, 4, 6, 8. Right? So I can represent like this. Now I am to calculate the formal charge on all the atoms. Let me first calculate the formal charge on oxygen 1. How will I calculate it? It is 6. What is 6? 6 is the total number of valence electrons in oxygen atom minus the total number of electrons which are present as lone pair. So there are 2 electrons which are present as lone pair, and minus half the total number of shared electrons. So how many shared electrons are there by this oxygen? 2, 4, 6. Half of that. So you get plus 1. So on this oxygen we have plus 1 charge. Let us now calculate the formal charge on oxygen 2. Now how we are going to calculate? This is oxygen 2. So first we have to write the total number of valence electron in free oxygen atom. How many are there? 4. Then minus, we have to calculate the total number of lone pair electrons. So there are 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 minus half of the shared pair. So how many it is sharing? How many electrons? 4 electrons. So half of 4, 6 minus 4 minus 2 is equal to 0. So the formal charge on this oxygen is what? 0. Now let us calculate the formal charge on this oxygen, third oxygen. Now what we have to do? First we have to write the total number of valence electrons which are present in free oxygen atom, that is 6, minus the total number of lone pair electrons, that is again 6, minus half of the total number of shared electrons. So shared electron means bonding electrons. So how many are bonding electron? 2. So if we calculate the formal charge on this oxygen, that is minus 1. So we can represent the formal charges. Again, let me tell you that in case of polyatomic ions, the net charge is possessed by the ion as a whole and not by a particular atom, but we can calculate or we can assign a formal charge on each atom. How we have assigned? Formal charge is equal to, formal charge is equal to total number of valence electrons in free atom minus total number of lone pair electrons minus half of the total number of shared electrons. Okay. So in this way we have to should first know the how to write the Lewis structure, then we have to calculate the formal charge on each atom. So generally this question comes in the paper that calculate the formal charge on atoms in carbonate ion. First you have to learn how to write the Lewis structure. So this is the Lewis structure I have written. So I have to calculate the formal charge on every atom. First I will calculate the formal charge on carbon. So formal charge on carbon is total number of valence electrons which are present in a free atom, that is carbon is having how many valence electron? 4, minus total number of non-bonding electron or total number of lone pairs. So there are no lone pairs associated, so we'll write 0, and then minus half of total number of bonding electron, or how many electrons are bonded? So 2, 4, 6, 8. So half of 8 is 0. So the formal charge on carbon is 0. Now let us calculate the formal charge on doubly bonded carbon, doubly bonded oxygen atom. So how we'll calculate? Let us see this doubly bonded oxygen. So what is the total number of valence electrons in free oxygen? They are 6. How many total number of lone pair electrons are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 4. And then minus half of the shared electrons. So how many shared electrons are there? By this oxygen, it is 1, 2, 3, 4. So half of 4. So this again, the formal charge on doubly bonded oxygen is what? 0. Now let us calculate the formal charge on single bonded oxygen. Let us see the single bonded oxygens. So first, what is the total number of electrons which are possessed by the free oxygen atom? That is 6. So we'll write here 6. Then total number of lone pair electrons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So total number of lone pair electrons, they are again 6. Then we have to see the total number of shared electrons. So shared electrons are 2. So minus half of 2. So this comes out to be minus 1. So the formal charge on this single bonded oxygen is minus 1. On doubly bonded it is 0, and on carbon also it is 0. So this is an important question. I hope this is clear to everyone. Let us now learn the limitations of the octet rule. The very first example of limitation is hydrogen molecule. See, we know that hydrogen has 1 electron in its energy shell, and it needs just one more electron to become like its nearest noble gas, that is helium. So in this case, octet is not at all needed to achieve a stable configuration. Okay, so then incomplete octet of the certain central atom. For example, the octet rule cannot explain the formation of molecules such as lithium chloride, beryllium hydride, boron hydride, because in all the cases the central atom does not have an octet of electron, and so we call these as electron deficient compounds. So you can see here the central lithium is not having an octet, the beryllium is not having an octet, but still these molecules exist, and boron is also not having any octet. So these have less than 8 electrons, so they are known as electron deficient compounds. Okay, there are 2 electrons around the lithium, and there are 4 electrons around the central beryllium, and there are 6 electrons around the boron. Then we have the expanded octet of the central atom. So even there are molecules which have more than 8 electrons. Let me tell you about this PF5, phosphorus pentafluoride. See, it is the central atom is having more than 8 electrons, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There are 10 electrons around phosphorus. And then we have SF6. The SF6 has how many electrons around the central atom? 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And then we have IF7. There are 14 electrons, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 10, 12 and 14. So there are 14 electrons around iodine. Okay. So the first thing is these are all the exceptions to the octet rule where the octet is not met with. Okay. So there are some molecules which exist, even they do not satisfy the octet rule. Then we have the odd electron molecules. So there are certain molecules which have odd number of electrons, like nitric oxide. If you draw the Lewis structure, you will find that this is having an odd electron, a single electron is there. Then nitrogen dioxide, this also is having an odd electron. Here also the octet rule is not satisfied for all the atoms. Okay. So there are other drawbacks of the octet rule. That is, this octet rule does not account for the shape of the molecule, and Also, the octet rule is based upon the chemical inertness of the noble gases. But there are compounds like xenon and krypton. They form compounds like xenon F2, krypton F2, xenon OF2, xenon OF4. Such compounds are formed by the noble gases. And also, this rule cannot explain the relative stability of the molecule in terms of energy. Let's discuss about ionic or electrovalent bond. When a bond is formed by the transference of one or more valence electrons of one atom to the other atom so as to complete their outermost octets and acquire stable nearest noble gas configuration, the bond formed is called electrovalent bond or ionic bond. In this type of bonding, one atom completes its octet and acquires noble gas configuration by losing the electron and the other by gaining the electron. The atom which loses the electron acquires a positive charge and the other which gains the electron acquires a negative charge. The two oppositely charged ions, they come closer due to electrostatic forces of attraction and forms an ionic bond. The electrostatic force of attraction which holds the oppositely charged ions together is known as ionic bond or electrovalent bond. The compound containing ionic or electrovalent bonds are known as ionic or electrovalent compounds. Now let us discuss the few ionic compounds having ionic bond. For example, sodium loses electron to form sodium ion. That electron is gained by chlorine to form the chloride ion, and thus there is a formation of sodium chloride. Now the factors on which the formation of sodium chloride depends are: number one, low ionization enthalpy. The ease with which an atom can lose electron depends upon its ionization enthalpy. How we define ionization enthalpy? It is the amount of energy required to remove the most loosely bound electron from an isolated gaseous atom to form a positive ion. So the ionization energy, if it is less, it will be easy for the element or the atom to lose an electron. So lesser the ionization enthalpy of an atom, greater is the ease of losing the valence electron. So in general, metals have low ionization enthalpy value and they have greater tendency to form the ionic bonds. Then we come to the second thing, that is high electron gain enthalpy. Now what is electron gain enthalpy? It is the amount of energy released when an isolated gaseous atom accepts an electron. Okay, and as a result of this, a negative ion is formed. So energy release in this process is known as electron gain enthalpy. So higher the value of this negative electron gain enthalpy, greater will be the ease of the formation of an anion. So elements which have high electron gain enthalpy, they form ionic compounds. Example are halogens and oxygen. The members of the halogen and oxygen group, they generally form what? Ionic compounds. Then ions have been formed, positive ion and negative ion. So they join together to form the lattice. So the formation and strength of an ionic bond depends upon the force of attraction between these oppositely charged ions. Due to strong electrostatic force of attraction between these ions, the formation of the crystal results in the release of energy, and which is known as lattice enthalpy. So how we define lattice enthalpy? It is the amount of energy released when free ions, they combine together to form 1 mole of the crystal. So higher the value of lattice enthalpy, greater will be the ease of formation of the ionic compound. So let me sum up again the factors of formation of ionic compounds. First is the low ionization enthalpy, right? Then high electron gain enthalpy, and then the last is the high lattice enthalpy. Lattice enthalpy of ionic crystals. Lattice enthalpy is defined as the amount of energy released when 1 mole of the ionic crystal is formed from its constant ions in the gaseous state. We can see here, these are the constant ions. They join to form the ionic crystal, and in this process the energy is released, and this is given as minus U because energy is coming out of the system. On the other hand, if 1 mole of the solid ionic compound is broken into its constituent gaseous ions, then energy will be required, which is numerically equal to the lattice enthalpy. So when this ionic crystal is broken into its constituent ions, then it is given the sign plus, because here we have to supply the energy in order to break it. So we can define lattice enthalpy in this way also, that it is the energy required to completely separate 1 mole of a solid ionic compound into gaseous ionic constituents. The factors on which lattice enthalpy depend are: number 1, size of the ion, and the other is charge on the ion. So smaller the size of the ion, lesser will be the internuclear distance, and so interionic attractions will be high and the lattice enthalpy will also be high. So charge on the ion, larger the magnitude of charge on the ions, greater will be the attractive forces between the ions. So lattice enthalpy will also be high when the charges are high. We can see here the example. We take the example of lithium fluoride. The lattice enthalpy is minus 1033. And then we see for beryllium oxide, here it is a bivalent solid. So why it is a bivalent? Both are having 2 positive. This is 2 positive charge, 2 negative charge. So see, the lattice enthalpy is minus 3125. Okay. Here lithium and fluoride, they are univalent solids. So let us take the example of biunivalent solids. So calcium is having 2 positive charge, fluorine is having single unit charge, and see the lattice enthalpy. So lattice enthalpy depends upon the size of the ions as well as charge on the ions. See, as the charge increased here, the lattice enthalpy increased in case of bivalent solid as compared to univalent solids. Okay. Discuss the properties of ionic compounds. First, ionic compounds, they exist as crystalline solids. In ionic compound, there is a definite geometric pattern in the formation of a crystal lattice. Here, in say, if I talk of sodium chloride crystal, each sodium ion, this is the sodium ion, this is the chloride ion. Each sodium ion is surrounded by 6 chloride ion, and each chloride ion is surrounded by 6 sodium ion. So this is known as the coordination number, which we define as the number of oppositely charged ions which are present as the nearest neighbor around an ion. It is called the coordination number. So the coordination number of sodium ion in sodium chloride crystal is 6, and similarly the coordination number of chloride ion in sodium chloride crystal is 6. This is the crystal structure of sodium chloride. Then we talk of melting and boiling points. Ionic compounds have high melting and boiling point because of the presence of strong electrostatic forces of attractions. Then solubility. Ionic compounds are soluble in water because of large electrostatic interactions between the polar solvents and the ions. Then electrical conductivity. Ionic compounds, they are good conductors of electricity in their molten state. However, they do not conduct in their solid state because of strong electrostatic forces between the ions. Then we talk of the ionic reactions. The ionic compounds split up into ions when dissolved in water, and such reactions which are promoted by ions are known as ionic reactions. Then non-directional nature. The ionic bond is non-directional because each ion here is surrounded by oppositely charged ion uniformly distributed all around the ion, and therefore electric field is non-directional. This ionic bond is non-directional in nature.